With me now, the AFC Wimbledon head coach, Mark Robinson. Robbo, have you managed to sort of pinpoint the areas from the second half against Wigan last week where we had a little bit of a dip in performance levels?
Yeah, we know the areas, Rob. It's and it's just people seeing their job through really, and having a love of that side of the game. But it's not lads doing it on purpose. It's just an understanding of how vital it is to see your job through. The thing that we did really well at Lincoln for whatever it was, 93 minutes, but then switched off for the last 20 seconds that could have cost us the 3 points, but didn't. We haven't done in that first 7 minutes against Wigan, and then it gives yourselves a mountain to climb, and then the game takes its own course. Then it becomes tough, especially against a side like Wigan. So no, the lads are fully aware of what it is, but I don't want the fans to think it's through a reluctance. It's just through learning of understanding that side of the game. So we've done everything we can to address it, and they're doing everything they can to address it. So we're looking forward to tomorrow to see those things not there and be as good as we know we can be on the ball.
Yeah, I was going to say with your meetings this week, have you managed to kind of take positive steps towards getting the team focused back and raising the standards again amongst them?
Yes, and that's why it's important not to panic and get knee-jerk and think things are great when they're not great, and they're not poor when they're not poor. First half against Wigan, we know for 20 minutes that there were things that we didn't do well enough. We didn't express ourselves on the ball, and that leads to certain things. Then for the last 20 minutes of the first half, we got on the ball and we expressed ourselves, and we finished the half really strong. So that's a positive. And then in the second half, as we've just talked about there was elements off the ball that we didn't do well enough that caused us to concede goals. But there's still a positive in the fact that after the second goal, the lads have got themselves in together. If you remember rightly, in a collective huddle, they've taken ownership, they've talked, which, when you've got an average age of where it was that day, 21 and a half, 22, the fact that they're doing that and they're getting in and they didn't concede again. I know you've lost the game, you don't want to lose any games of football, but the fact that they've stemmed the flow and they haven't conceded anymore, they've gone down to 10 men for 15 minutes and still haven't conceded, that's still a positive. You don't want to lose games of football, but that's still a positive in terms of where we're going. So we've had a really good week, and weeks are always good because everyone knows they're coming in to improve and get better, and we've got a direction where we want to go. So the weeks are never negative, they're always forward thinking and positive, and you just want to see that they're learning, and these things are going to change over time, and they just become intrinsic habits.
So with that team ethic, it's not a case of a reset, it's just where they perhaps veered a little bit off the road a little bit, yeah?
Yeah, and there can be all elements of reasons, some I don't want to go into particularly, but with young players there can be all reasons behind things, and but fundamentally it's not the players. It can be poor information coming from elsewhere, from outside, various influences. It can be their perception isn't the perception it needs to be, and that's a big thing with young players is perception and understanding the perception of relentless hard work, and they're getting theirs aligned with my perception of relentless hard work and what it looks like, and all these things take a bit of time. But as I said, if it just comes from me shouting and hollering, then it just goes away as quick as you get it. So it has to come from them understanding, and as I said, that might take a little bit of time, but that's the way it has to be, because that's the only way that it has any value long term.
Turning to tomorrow's game against Cambridge United, they've got a different style to us. They've drawn a few games recently. Have you seen in your meetings and out there on the training ground that our lads sense there's ways that we can hurt them out there?
There's always ways you can hurt teams, definitely, and especially if we play how we know we can play, but they're very similar. They've got a great team spirit, so they're very similar to us. They're really effective in what they do. They've got a real, I know Mark quite well, and I know the togetherness they have, and that they'll be playing more than just for own personal reward. It'll be about the club. So their values will be very similar, and he's done a fantastic job there, and they've had some great results. They're a bit similar to us. Of late the results haven't been quite as positive, but they've had some fantastic results, and it's going to be a really tough game, and one that we've got to be brilliant at off the ball, and we've got to be really good at on the ball as well.
They play a different kind of style to ourselves, don't you?
Yeah, a little bit, but they can play. They can mix their styles up and they can play. and I think it's really important that we have to recognise that as well, because we've looked at other teams this season who have done certain things against certain teams, and then they haven't done them against us. So teams will adapt, but they're more than capable of playing. You don't get the results they've had if you can't play.
What did you make of our game against Palace? You've had a few days to kind of analyse that, and perhaps players that come into consideration.
Yeah, I think if you look at it, it wasn't really it's not our under 23s. If you look at it, a lot of it was our under 18s and lads who have coming back from injury. So I have to take the positives from that. Our under 23 lads are out on loan. So if they weren't on loan, your players like Elliot Bolton, Dylan Adji-Hersey, Alfie, they're the players that would have been playing in that sort of game, which is our lads that are at that level. I know we had Isaac in there and Luke Jenkins, but they literally come back off of 18-month injuries. So, and the other lads are under 18. So I'm not making excuses for them, but there was bound to be some nerves, and they were disappointed that they didn't really implement their personality on the game. But as I said, they're 16, 17, 18 years of age, so there was still plenty of positives. But I think possibly a couple of the other lads, the more, you can't really call them senior when they're 19 and 20, but they expected more of themselves, and possibly I expected a bit more of them, and they know that, and we're going to chat about it.
But obviously, of course, as well, Dan Choker was involved in that game too, and I suppose it was important game time for him with what he could have coming up in the next few weeks, yeah?
Yeah, and Dan done fine, I thought, and I gave him the option and said, do you want a full 90 or do you want 45? But because he hasn't had loads of football, he wanted the 90, and I thought he got better and better as the game went on, and Dan will give us that balance if he gets back in the side as well.
You've had Ollie Palmer back out there training with you today. What's his situation? Could he be involved in some way tomorrow?
Yes, that's a positive with Ollie. He can't start yet, but Tim's giving the okay to do 20 minutes if we need. So that's a step in the right direction, because the only thing that keeps me awake at night a little bit is our depth in squad, because you feel we're kind of one or two injuries away from thinking, well, what do we do? But it is what it is. It's what I've got to deal with. So having Ollie coming back is great, and with the fixture runs, and there possibly could be another international break, that could give us the opportunity to get George Marsh back, so which would be positive as well.
Well, exactly. I mean, Dapo Mabude and Aaron Presley getting the call for Scotland too. It's a time that you can't really afford to pick up any more injuries, can you?
No, certainly not. And that, as I said, that's the only thing that plays on my mind is we've had this little run of injuries here and left us a bit light. So we can't afford any more injuries now. So yeah, that's something we need to be mindful of.
But with regards to tomorrow, it's just George Marsh, Will Nightingale, Paul Callan-Bailey, the only definite ones ruled out, yeah?
Yeah, so those three are definitely out, and just got to have a little check on Dapo about something. But no, apart from that, we're all good to go.
Robbo, thanks for your time.
Cheers, Rob, thank you.